Hey everyone, buckle up because today we're diving deep into a metaphor that's going to totally change the way you think about success. We're talking horse racing, but not the kind you see at the Kentucky Derby. We're using horse racing as a framework to figure out how to win in life. And we're getting all this wisdom from a pretty unexpected source, a Chinese translation of positioning, the battle for your mind. You know that classic marketing book by Al Ries and Jack Trout. Now, you might be thinking, what's a marketing book got to do with my personal life? But stick with me here. This chapter we're looking at is all about personal positioning, finding your unique spot in the world, just like a brand finds its niche in the market.
It's really fascinating how they take those same principles that work for companies and apply them to individuals. Like, we all want to be successful,
Yeah.
but we often get so caught up in the me, myself, and I mindset, we forget to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, like we're all told to be these lone wolves hustling 24/7, but maybe that's not the best strategy. Maybe we need to look around and find the right horses to team up with.
That's exactly what this chapter is all about. It's in that instead of always betting on yourself, that high-risk horse, you got to look for those external factors, those horses with better odds. That can really propel you forward.
So instead of being the lone wolf, we become the jockey. Finding that winning horse and riding it to victory. I love that analogy. So where do we even begin to find these winning horses? Well, the book starts off by introducing what it calls the high-risk horses. These are the bets you probably wouldn't want to make. The odds are stacked against you from the start. And the first one they talk about is the hard work horse, clocking in at a dismal 100.1 odds.
And it makes you wonder, right? We're all working harder than ever, longer hours, more stress. But are we actually getting ahead? The book cites research that shows there's actually diminishing returns to overwork.
No kidding. It's like technology was supposed to give us more free time, not less. But here we are, glued to our screens, hustling harder and harder. And for what?
And burnout is a huge problem, even for those high-powered execs.
Yeah, it's like we're all stuck in this endless cycle. Work, 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 burnout, repeat.
So maybe the hard work horse isn't the best bet after all. The next one they talk about is the IQ horse, coming in at 75.1 odds.
So even intelligence isn't a guarantee of success.
That's what the book argues. It's saying that just being smart isn't enough.
Which is kind of crazy, right? You'd think that being super intelligent would automatically put you ahead of the pack.
Well, the book actually suggests that sometimes less intelligent people might be more successful because they're not afraid to ask for help.
That's so counterintuitive, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it. Like those super smart people, they might get so caught up in their own brilliance, they forget to collaborate, they try to do everything themselves.
Whereas those who might not be as naturally gifted, they're more likely to seek out support, to build relationships. And ultimately, that can lead to greater success.
So it's not just about brains, it's about knowing when to ask for help.
Yeah.
And who to ask. All right, next up we've got the education horse. This one's coming in at 60.1 odds. Now, don't get me wrong, education is important. It's how you get into the race in the first place.
It is foundational knowledge.
Right, but the book makes a really interesting point. It says that a degree alone won't take you far these days. The competition is just too fierce.
Yeah, the value of even those top-tier degrees is changing. With so many people graduating from college now, it's not enough to just have that diploma on the wall.
You gotta have the skills, the experience, and the network to really stand out.
And that reminds me of that anecdote about Jack Welch, former CEO of General Electric. You know, he actually downplayed his doctorate and stopped using junior in his name.
Really?
Yep. He wanted to appear more relatable, more down to earth.
So even having a fancy degree doesn't guarantee success. It's more about how you use it and how you connect with people.
Exactly.
All right, so we've talked about hard work, IQ, and education. What's the next high-risk horse on our list?
This one might hit close to home for some folks. It's the corporate horse. With its 50.1 odds,
Oh boy, the corporate world. Remember the good old days? Climb a ladder, get that corner office, retire comfortably.
well, the book argues that those days are fading fast.
Yeah, with all the mergers and downsizing, it does feel a bit like playing musical chairs. You never know when the music's going to stop.
And choosing the wrong company can be disastrous.
It's like boarding the Titanic. You know it's going down. But you're hoping you'll be one of the lucky ones to get a lifeboat.
So, if these high-risk horses aren't the way to go, what are our options?
That's a great question. And that's what we'll be exploring next. We're going to ditch these long shot bets and head towards the medium risk horses. The ones with slightly better odds. The ones that just might help us win the race of life. But that's a story for another time. Until then, keep thinking about those horses and which ones you might want to bet on. See you next time.
We just went through all those high-risk horses, the ones you probably wouldn't want to bet on.
Yeah, the odds were pretty grim.
But the book doesn't leave us hanging. It goes on to introduce some, well, they call them the medium-risk horses. These are the ones with slightly better odds, right?
Exactly. And they're all about making the most of what you've already got, kind of like leveling up your game by finding the right tools and resources.
Yeah, it's about leveraging those strengths and assets you already possess.
And the first one they talk about is the talent horse, coming in at 25.1 odds.
So natural talent is valuable, of course, but the book stresses that it needs to be recognized and nurtured.
It's like that story about Paul McCartney getting rejected from his church choir as a kid.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, can you imagine if he had given up then? No Beatles.
Hmm.
But luckily, Brian Epstein came along, saw their potential, and the rest is history.
Right. It's a classic example of how talent alone isn't always enough. You need someone who believes in you, someone who can help you bring that talent to the world.
So it's talent plus the right support system.
Exactly.
And then there's the hobby horse. This one's my personal favorite, coming in at 20.1 odds.
The hobby horse is all about passion.
Yeah. It's about turning those things you love into a career. And the book is full of stories about people who did just that. Like Hugh Hefner, the guy who invented Tootsie Rolls, the couple behind the Zagat restaurant guide. It's amazing how those diverse interests can lead to such unexpected success.
It's a great reminder that we should be open to possibilities, even in those unexpected places.
And it's never too late to turn your passion into something more. So keep those hobby horses in mind, folks. You never know where they might lead you.
Now let's move on to the publicity horse. This one's coming in at 10.1 odds.
Ooh, publicity. That's a tricky one.
It can be, but it's also incredibly powerful.
Yeah, the book makes a pretty bold statement about this. It says that most people don't actually think for themselves. They're swayed by what they see in the media.
It's about visibility.
Yeah.
And sometimes being seen can be more valuable than just being competent.
Especially in today's world, where everyone's vying for attention.
The key is to understand how to control the narrative, how to manage your public image.
And they give some great examples in the book, like Victor Kiam and his Remington Razor story, and Madonna using that shock value to become a superstar.
And let's not forget those bold ad campaigns that grab headlines.
Right. It's all about standing out from the crowd, even if it means pushing the boundaries a bit.
Exactly.
All right, so we've talked about talent, hobbies, and publicity. What's next on our list of medium-risk horses?
Well, this next one is actually a transition into the final group, the low-risk horses, the ones with the best odds of all.
Oh, now we're talking. These are the horses we want to be betting on, right?
Absolutely. And the first one in this group is the product horse, coming in at 5.1 odds.
So what's the product horse all about?
It's about recognizing a great product or idea, even if you didn't invent it yourself.
Kind of like being a talent scout for the market.
Exactly. You don't need to be the creator. You just need to be the one who recognizes the potential and knows how to bring it to the world.
Like, what was that guy's name? The one with the Tootsie Rolls.
Oh, Leo Hirschfield.
Yeah, Hirschfield. He didn't invent the Tootsie Roll,
Mm.
but he saw its potential and turned it into a massive success.
And then there's Ray Kroc with McDonald's. He didn't create the hamburger, but he saw the potential in a simple, affordable meal and built an empire around it.
It's incredible how a simple idea can become such a huge success when you have the vision to see its potential.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another low-risk horse I find fascinating, the other people horse, coming in at 3.1 odds.
Other people horse, that's an interesting one.
It's all about finding someone else's rising star and hitching your wagon to theirs.
So it's about recognizing someone else's potential and supporting their journey.
Exactly. It's about finding the right people to learn from, to collaborate with, and to grow alongside.
Kind of like finding a mentor.
Mentorship is definitely a big part of it,
Yeah.
but it's also about building those strategic alliances, finding people whose goals align with yours.
The book gives a great example with Dan Burke, who became the head of Capital Cities ABC by working closely with his mentor, Thomas Murphy.
It's about finding those win-win situations where you're helping someone else succeed, and their success, in turn, helps you.
But of course, there are risks involved, right? What if that person's star starts to fade? Or what if their values don't actually align with yours?
Those are important considerations. It's crucial to choose your other people horses carefully, do your research, and make sure it's a good fit for both of you.
So it's not just about blindly following anyone, it's about finding the right people. and build in those mutually beneficial relationships.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the partnership horse, coming in at 5.2 odds.
This one emphasizes the power of collaboration, the idea that two heads are often better than one.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Exactly. Having partners can provide support, valuable feedback, and a fresh perspective.
The book highlights some classic examples of successful partnerships, like Hewlett and Packard, the founders of Nike, Ben and Jerry, the ice cream guys.
These are all iconic partnerships, and they demonstrate the power of shared vision and complementary skills.
It's inspiring, isn't it, to see what people can achieve when they come together, with a common goal.
Absolutely. And sometimes that perfect partner might be closer than you think.
Oh, you mean like a spouse?
Exactly. That brings us to the final two horses in this group, spouse horse and the family horse.
Ah, yes, the power of love and family. But I imagine there are some unique challenges involved in those partnerships, especially when you're mixing business with personal relationships.
Definitely. The book acknowledges the potential benefits, but also warns about the potential downsides.
So what's the key to making those family partnerships work?
Communication is crucial, as well as clear boundaries and a shared understanding of goals.
It's like walking a tightrope sometimes, between the personal and the professional.
It can be, but there are also some incredible success stories, like Melvin Gordon, who became the CEO of the Tootsie Roll Company after marrying the owner's daughter.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
And then there are all those successful family businesses, like Ford, Walmart, and Mars.
But I guess it's not always smooth sailing, right?
Unfortunately, no. The book also highlights some cautionary tales, like the messy divorce involving the founders of Johnson Products Company, where control of the company became a major point of contention.
Oof, that sounds rough. So I guess the bottom line is mixing business with family can be a gamble.
It can be, but with the right approach and a lot of open communication, it can also be incredibly rewarding.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from those hard-working horses to those closer-home options. What do you think our listeners are taking away from all this?
Well, the central message seems to be, success is rarely a solo journey.
It's about finding those right horses and riding them to victory.
And remember, you don't have to limit yourself to just one horse.
You can build your own stable of success.
Exactly. Now that we've explored all these different options, the question is, what are your horses?
So we've talked about all these different horses, right? From those hardworking ones to the ones a little closer to home, like spouses and family.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
But there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Definitely not.
But what I really like about this whole horse racing idea, it makes you think bigger.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just focusing on what I can do, it's like, wait a minute, maybe there are other forces at play here.
Exactly. You're not just a lone rider out there.
Yeah. You can be a jockey.
Yeah. Exactly. You get to choose your horse.
And you get to use its strengths to win. But you got to be strategic about it.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you wouldn't just bet on any horse, right?
No way. You got to look at its track record, the
Wow.
jockey, the conditions of the race.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it all comes back to you.
Our listeners.
Yeah. What horses are you riding right now?
Are you still trying to make that hard work horse cross the finish line? Or are you ready to try something new?
Maybe explore some of those lower risk options.
Yeah. Ditch the education horse and hop onto the product horse.
Exactly. Find that amazing idea and bring it to the world. Or maybe it's time to connect with some folks whose horses are already in the lead.
Yeah. Find those mentors, those collaborators.
The ones who can help you reach new heights.
That other people horse can be a game changer.
So be open to new approaches, you know?
Yeah.
Get out of that comfort zone.
And remember, success is rarely a solo mission.
You're the jockey.
And you've got a whole stable of potential horses to choose from.
By understanding their strengths and weaknesses, you can navigate your career path and unlock those amazing opportunities.
Who knows, you might even find yourself in the winner's circle.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, folks. We'll catch you next time.